Well, right now I see myself as a retired old guy trying to still figure out life. But I think if you were to look at my legacy of who I was and what I've done, I'm probably all of the above.
Okay.
I remember one time when I left Lucasfilm, I was looking for another job and I met with a headhunter here in Los Angeles. And he asked me what I did. And I sort of explained it to him. He said, "So are you a technical guy?" And I said, "Well, sort of." And, he said, "Well, are you a finance person?" I said, "Well, sort of." He said, "Well, are you creative?" I said, "Sort of." He said, "I can't figure out what you do." I said, "Well, I'm the CEO president type." He said, "Oh, we don't have any jobs for that."
but you managed to find one.
Well, I
Certainly.
started one, right? That was the only way I could survive, as there wasn't really a job. So I actually had to start my own company.
Okay, that's when Digital Domain appeared?
Correct.
Okay, and the rest is history.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you, where is it? So I think...
Okay, you did that. That's very nice of you. Let me see if I could play some of this. Is what visual effects looked like when I first sort of started in the business. And hopefully you can see this screen. Can you see it?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, let's see if I could play it.
Maybe I'll turn off the lights here so we can see better. Okay.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
So this was in the days of models and miniatures and real pyro. So no computer generated imagery.
Fire's gonna hit the fuel tank any second. Damn! This ain't a dogfight, man!
Again, models and miniatures in a smoke stage. No CG. All real pyro, all real fire. Potatoes carved to look like they're asteroids. All hand-drawn rotoscope, frame by frame, on cells.
Boy, did you see that? What timing! What finesse!
When Bob Hoskins, the actor, was asked to do version 2, he said he would never do it because he almost went insane on this movie because he acted totally on blue screen with no characters, by himself.
This was insane.
Yeah. All rotoscoped tennis ball, not CG.
How do you see creative related to the techniques?
Well, I do think that now, because you could do anything with computer-generated imagery, unfortunately, people do. So there's tons of imagery in films that, in my opinion, doesn't need to be there. It doesn't foster the story, right? This is an Akira Kurosawa piece, and Mr. Kurosawa gave me a painting of that he did himself. This is CG, the first use of CG while I was at Industrial Light and Magic. CG. Which sort of looks funny, you know, today, right? The first use of morphing, $275,000 to create that scene. And now you can morph on a program that you can buy for 50 euros, you know? Miniatures, rotoscope. Now this was the beginning when you saw that plane fly into the cave. That's when we first realized that we could no longer use photochemical processes to do green screen, because when we were doing things in the daylight, it wouldn't resolve and there were matte lines. When we were doing things in space, not a problem. So we had a guy that worked for us and he created this product called Photoshop. This is all animation, stop motion animation. The famous Phil Tippett. Green screen composite of Bruce Willis, real pyro. Stop motion dinosaurs. A wax head that was melted with a hairdryer. If any of you are fans of The Doors, I was working with Oliver Stone shooting this movie. He had no idea what he wanted. We shot like 40,000 feet of film and only used like 2 scenes. Computer generation, the real first use of world-class computer generation for The Abyss on Jim Cameron's film. Bad composite. Look at how bad the matte lines look when they're just terrible. This is a miniature with Patrick Swayze, may he rest in peace. This is a large-scale miniature for Back to the Future. Literally drove it off a cliff and blew it up. Five cameras. All shooting a thing called VistaVision. Stop motion, Phil Tippett, Tauntauns, and Star Wars. Computer graphics for young Sherlock Holmes.
Very famous shot.
Yeah, one of the first usages of CG. And then, of course, this. And I actually had E.T.'s bicycle in my office, all stop motion, but actually go motion, where the bicycles, we would use motion blur in between each one of the shots to be able to create it. It looked like they were really pedaling and moving. And the great Joe Viscoso, the pyro guy. Again, large-scale miniature, shot on blue screen, composited photochemically.
It's
Rob Shear.
of course, to say it's impressive is the least that we can think about, because this is the history of many people's imagination. How do you feel about that? Because it's not just something. It's a huge thing. The amount of iconic images that you reached to fabricate. How is this for you?
Well, it's an interesting thing. Is it's sort of like I have Forrest Gump disease, which is I found myself in places where things that were historical and iconic were being done, but at the time I had no idea. It's like I did things like I toured with the Miles Davis Band as a sound engineer during Bitches Brew in 1970, 71. I had no idea that Miles Davis was Miles Davis. It was just a job for me. I was out on the road. I had no idea what they were playing. But now when I look back at my life, there are moments where I've been literally 20 feet from stardom over and over and over and over again, And so when I look back at it, it's especially when I talk to students and even folks now, I'm so old, I talk to people that are in their 30s and 40s, they're like, holy shit, I remember Roger Rabbit. I was 10 years old and I scared the hell out of or whatever. And so the impact that it's had on audiences and particularly kids around the world over the last 40, 50 years is extraordinary.
And is there any was there any moment that you noticed in advance that, okay, this will become iconic? Did you have any that flash moment during the process, or it's something that you just realized after it was done?
I think when we did Terminator 2 and the start of Jurassic Park, I realized that that was going to be something that would change the industry. I remember sitting in a theater with average folks watching Terminator 2, and when the liquid molten man sort of did his thing, the oxygen level in the theater went down because everybody just went,
That's comprehensible. Hello, dog.
And my green screen is all messed up. You'd think I would have a real good green screen, but I don't. I'm gonna get rid of that.
That's because you're at home. You're not in your office.
Yeah, but
otherwise
still, you would
have the
think,
best
come
one.
on, let's see if I could get rid of this, huh? Yeah, so I don't want to take up too much time on showing you things. I have another reel that I could show at some point, which is a reel that here we go. Let's get rid of this sucker.
I'm just gonna introduce another question that with so many artistic and technical achievements, is there any one or any set of achievements that you are most proud of, or is what
on
is
the
your
technical, when you say technical side, I mean on the technical side, when I started Digital Domain, my intention was to create a company that what Pixar was to animation, I wanted Digital Domain to be to live action films.
Okay.
And so as a result, we needed to develop sort of a high level compositing tool. And so we developed Nuke, which is to this day the standard, high end compositing tool from a technical point of view.
Yeah.
From a creative point of view, what's that?
That I work with Nuke.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's powerful, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really powerful. To this day, still like probably the best. And I think from a creative point of view, God, that's a tough one. There's so many things. From an emotional point of view, Apollo 13.
Okay.
And the reason being is the director was a sweetheart, Ron Howard. The lead actor was a sweetheart, Tom Hanks. they treated my visual effects crew like they were an important part of the production, which oftentimes in production, live action folks don't treat visual effects and post-production people like full citizens. You know, they're sort of like slaves that do the work. Shut up and go into your room and do what it is you do, because I don't understand it. But you know, by the time Apollo 13 came around, it became really obvious that visual effects were going to really play an important part in filmmaking. And then, you know, then of course Titanic.
Titanic is history.
Right.
Yeah, there is a girl here on the audience that she insisted ask Scott why did they have to kill Jack, and of course, so if they didn't kill Jack, there would be no drama. But yeah, she even getting her Titanic T-shirt because she's that kind of girl.
Where is she? Where is she?
Louisa, come here.
I can't see her. She's being blocked by one of the guys wearing
yeah,
a white T-shirt.
she's dressing up her Titanic T-shirts. Yeah, and I know she would kill me if I didn't ask her question. You are here. You are here. You are here.
There you are. There you go. See, now think about it. That if Jack didn't die in the end, that image on your T-shirt would not exist. Because one of the things about the bittersweet love story is that we tell it from Gloria's point of view. You know, the old Rose, and she takes us back, and it's the love that she lost, which is, you know, really sad. I'm getting choked up right now thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's I think it was important. You know, it's sort of like a loosely based version of Romeo and Juliet. Jim Cameron's not the best writer in the world, as you've probably noticed with his Fern Gully Avatar, you know, kind of thing. But he truly does, I think, understand, you know, the drama of loss and strong women, because his mother, Jim's mother, is a force to be reckoned with. So I think it was, I mean, listen, they both could have fit on that damn piece of wood. I mean, I don't understand why, you know, why he goes down, but, you know, it's a movie. And so the movie is made to be able to, you know, pull out emotions in its audience. And I think it was a lot more emotional that Jack dies.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
personally,
yeah,
I would have rather had Jim Cameron die, but that's a whole different story.
that's another chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you one other thing, because I was making some research before doing this talk, that you've been making talks about imagining the future. How do you imagine the future and the evolution of the industry at this moment in a world panorama? I know it's a very wide question, but how do you see things going on this way? Because with all those things about streaming platforms like Netflix, HBO, blah, 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 how do you see things evolving now?
You know, I came from a period of time where visual effects was important, but there wasn't enough work, and there were more than enough studios to create the work. So it was a feeling of scarcity. Visual effects companies weren't making any money. Visual effects workers were, in my opinion, not treated as well as they should have been. Things have changed now with streaming, where there's a ton of work and it's international. And also because a lot of the software and hardware have been democratized, that, you know, there's lots of small companies popping up that are artist-driven companies that do really great work. The future, well, you know, it's right now everybody's talking about virtual production, you know, and Russell, I'm going to have to ask you to get off my lap because you're too big for a, look at this guy. Hold on.
Yeah, this is a big guy.
He's like, he thinks he's a lap dog, but he is not. You know, virtual production is now blending the areas of post-production and production. So now you literally shoot on set, no more green screens, giant, video displays, real reflection of light. We're almost going back to like sort of the Hansard days of rear screen projection. The thing that scares me, on several levels, one less so, which is in my opinion, the outrageous use of computer generated imagery in films, and not really telling stories that move people. It's more about, it's the Michael Bay syndrome, blow shit up, have creatures from outer space, sorry for all you people that are fans of the Marvel universe, but I mean, come on, really? I mean, enough. I'd like to see movies that say something, that make a difference, that make my heart grow, that make me think. And I think CGI has really dumbed down the movie storytelling. And that sort of concerns me, but not as much because I have the ability to not watch it. And I watch things like The Hand of God by Sorrentino. And I watch films that I like. But the things that really concern me is this whole crazy thing called the metaverse. That really is, I think, Pandora's box that's going to be opened up, that's going to cause incredible damage to our society.
In what sense?
Well, think about it. The rate of suicide in young people has gone through the roof. There are filters now that take average looking people and make them look like movie stars. And so the desire for women and now men have a really hard time even interacting with people. It's so much easier to just deal with your screen and not have the trauma or the anxiety of actually dealing with a live person. So if the metaverse becomes everything that Neil Stephenson talked about, or what Steven Spielberg showed in Ready Player One, we're all going to be like giant fat people sitting in our living room with these headsets on and never having to deal with anyone or anything. And we're going to all look beautiful. We could eat crappy food and we don't have to exercise, but our avatars will be gorgeous. And I think that's something that we really need to be concerned about.
I understand. And how do you see this new reality? How do you see this being transported to the industry of movie making, games, and etc.?
When you say this new reality, what do you mean by that?
This metaverse reality. This is some kind of new reality, new non-reality, actually.
So, as Leonardo da Vinci, through his art, sort of created things that would only come to play 200, 300, 400 years later, like helicopters and stuff, the movie industry has the ability to show the world what things are like. And now with virtual production and virtual avatars and, real-time graphics and Unity and whatnot, you're able to literally shoot a movie where the actors are not really in the movie at all, which is a foreshadowing of what the metaverse will be like. So I think films could show the way what life could be like once this becomes ubiquitous and once everybody has access to being an avatar in the metaverse.
Okay. So, and there comes Avatar from James Cameron.
Yeah, good example of that, right?
Yeah. Of course. Well, I don't know if you want to present anything else now.
Do you ask the students? Do you guys want to see another reel?
They do.
Do you want to ask questions, or what do you want to do?
I want to ask what he thinks of the Black Mirror series. He's talking about like the dystopian future. So.
Did you manage to listen? No.
I couldn't hear it.
He was asking, what do you think about the Black Mirror series?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it.
Dystopian future and their.
Okay.
What's he say?
Come here. Just interact with him. Okay. Just sit for a while.
Hi, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, thanks. So I just wanted to ask if you have Have you ever watched Black Mirror? It's a British series, and it's about this dystopian future that you were mentioning.
I
related to
haven't, no.
metaverse. Oh, maybe it's
No.
better than Marvel movies for sure,
Oh, I
because there
hope
is
so.
content.
Black Mirror,
Yeah, it's a British production. It's on Netflix. Yeah.
Netflix. I'll check it out.
Yeah, every episode is different from each other, but they are related to this dystopian future, and some episodes are related to technology and metaverse, and it's quite interesting.
Is the take on the metaverse sort of similar to what I was just saying, or do they?
Yeah, there is an episode, because they're all different,
Mhm.
but there is one episode that is kind of related to the metaverse. There's this guy, he's stuck in this small room, and he lives like through this avatar.
Right.
Yeah. Yo, I recommend it.
cool.
Just wanted to ask
I'll
if you
check it
knew,
out.
if you wanted to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Don't know
Okay,
it. I
sorry.
will definitely check it out.
So, I don't know, anyone has any question, guys, feel free to interact, okay? I know I'm kind of here in the position of talking.
Will we use the Google Forms questions?
Actually, I made some copy of the questions that were there previously, and so I don't have access to it now.
Yes, I added one just like 5 minutes ago, so.
Yeah, no, that's okay. What was the question?
I wanted to ask for a personal opinion on Star Wars Episode 7, 8, and 9.
The girl, yeah, Julia was asking, what's your personal opinion on Star Wars Episodes 7, 8, and 9?
Haven't seen them.
You haven't seen That's your opinion.
Yeah, I haven't seen them. I have no interest.
Okay, I'm suspicious to talk about Star Wars because I was a kid when the Star Wars was released in '77. The new Star Wars or the late Star Wars, I had no interest at all in seeing them.
What do you think of the Mandalorian, though?
Sorry?
What do you think of the Mandalorian?
Second season was better than the first.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's got a really good take on it. It's, I know Kathy Kennedy really well, and I think Kathy gets in the way of really creative leaps in the Star Wars sagas because she's always concerned, and in my opinion, she seems to always be concerned about what George is going to say.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Want to see another reel?
Yeah, just go for it.
Okay, let me see if I could get this bigger.
I was leaving for the last question. What are we supposed to wait for from Scott Ross in the future? You maybe start thinking about it.
What you should wait for me in the future?
Yeah.
My obituary.
No, I don't believe we can only wait for it.
Dude, I am 71 years old. Things start to slow down. And right now, my real interest is learning to play jazz saxophone,
Okay.
hanging out with my wife and traveling pre-pandemic, and falling in love with this little dog. But,
Okay.
my attitude is, I've been there, I done it, I gave, I'm done. Here you
Okay.
go. Here's what we did. Can you see it?
Yes.
Benjamin.
Benjamin?
Benjamin.
What if I told you that I wasn't getting older, but I was getting younger than everybody else? There were many changes. Some you could see, some you couldn't. Hair had started growing in all sorts of places, along with other things.
Take the others! The user is mine!
Here we go.
Your habits, your facts, your fears, your address, your shoe size, your years, your digits, your plans, your hands, your eyes, your schedule, your income, your soul.
I have a rendezvous with death at some disputed barricade. It may be he'll take my hand and lead me into his dark land and close my eyes and quench my breath. I have a rendezvous with death.
Yeah, and before and after digital domain, basically. How do you see the market in terms, because there are so many things going on in virtual reality and game industry, and somehow I read somewhere that games now make more money than cinema and music together. How do you see all these market things about these topics?
Well, again, if we're moving towards a metaverse, things become, entertainment becomes sort of singular, right? It's like, I don't really see, let me see a show of hands in your class. Who actually goes to the cinema to watch movies? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Portugal. In the United States, students your age are not doing that. They're watching it on their computers or on their handheld devices or whatnot. And the reason being is they care less about the quality and more about the time flexibility to be able to see it when they want to see it, how they want to see it, as opposed to I have to go sit in the movie theater with 200 people that I don't know and eat popcorn that costs a lot of money. And, and the show starts at 10 o'clock. So, I see that changing as well, where now most of your entertainment comes on computer type devices and, film, television, cinema, video games, virtual reality, mixed reality, etc., sort of melding into one environment. Again, doesn't excite me. I'm a guy who has like 5,000 vinyl records, right? So, I'm not a big digital fan, interestingly enough, though I started a company called Digital Domain. I'm back to analog, baby. I think the quality is better. I think the experience is better. I think film looks better than digital. I think sound sounds better on analog. And again, maybe it's because I'm a 70-year-old guy, but I'm not excited about the future of cinema and virtual reality. Not at all. Now, I have a really close friend, one of my best friends. His name is Trip Hawkins. And Trip was the founder of a company called Electronic Arts, a video games company. And he and I take a walk every week. We take our dogs out and we walk. And he, however, is excited about it because he thinks, particularly from the concept of NFTs, that in the video game world, the ability to own certain suits of armor, certain guns, certain ammunition, certain amulets, and he sees it that you could buy it, own it, and that it would apply cross-platform. So not in one garden wall kind of variety, but you could play it in multiple games, something that you own that you would be able to take to whatever digital environment you were in, and you had the ability to sell it. So he's like one of the inventor of video games. So he gets it and understands it and is excited about it. Not me.
Not you.
No, sorry.
I'm talking actually all those guys here in front of you, they are from creative technologies or game design or game technologies. So this is a particular world that sometimes, and now I talk about myself, I struggle to deal in because I stopped in Tetris game, it's just and that's it. So I'm more into storytelling actually. So yeah, that's the deal. And that's the deal that those guys will have to face actually in the next semester. We are finishing one this semester. They are making a huge project for video mapping, that we are telling a story of a car throughout the 20th century in Lisbon, probably in some locations that you've been to in your trips here to Portugal. And in the next semester, they will have to make some kind of a storytelling, but inside the virtual world, because they are in creative technologies and they need to learn these technologies for virtual reality. What is your tips for storytelling, actually? Not regarding technical stuff, not what is for you to tell a story?
Well, I think that it's really important to either make people laugh or make people cry, and possibly take them to a place that they've never been before. So if you can meld all three of them, in my opinion, you've got a piece of art. So the ability to reach into somebody's soul and have them remember an emotion that they might have once had that they don't recall that well, or to just crack up at the absurdity of it all, like silly thoughts that you might have had in the past that a film or a story could rekindle, and then take me on a journey that has highs and lows. So in animation, we actually map out highs and lows over time in the storytelling. So take me to a peak emotionally or from a humoristic point of view, and then bring me back down a little bit, and then take me to a higher peak, and then take me to a higher peak. And ultimately, the culmination of it all happens in the third act or the end of it, where now you've grabbed me by my heartstrings, and I can't imagine this ride ending. So and of course that's going to be different for different people, but I think that there are universal truths in the human spirit that you need to push those buttons as a storyteller. Does that help? Students, does that help?
I think so. I think so. The guys are here like, maybe you cannot see their expression, but they are like, wow, just looking at you with yeah. I don't know.
I'd love to hear some questions from the class, like, so, I know this is the Pedro show, but it would be.
No, it's not Pedro. I was just the lucky guy that had the pleasure to meet you in THU, and that could make the connection. Yeah, good. I thought about bringing my own T-shirt for THU. Actually, it's the same of you.
Is it the brown one?
It's the brown one, exactly.
I like
exactly
this one.
The same one.
See, because that goes with my orange shoes. You see.
Yeah. I have here a good friend of mine that he's also my colleague in fine arts master, and he was also my colleague because he went to THU as well. So
cool.
Simon, come here and make a question to Scott. He came.
There we go.
Yeah, he's an external from YAD, from our university.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, fine, and you?
Good.
So yeah, about THU, my experience with THU was really different from Pedro, because I only went in 2016, I think. Really out of nowhere. I didn't know the festival. I lived across the river. So it was a really, at the time, now I'm more interested in video, but at the time I was really into 2D animation. And that's what I really wanted to do. So yeah, I don't know what I could ask you about THU. What do you think? Because I think that's, from my perspective, from being from Setúbal, what do you think was the purpose from THU in that place? Because I know that the place was really important and was really a part of, I don't mean like in a city kind of way. I mean the place and the people that were a part of THU, even if they weren't from there. I mean the community. I really felt that. I read about that before the festival, and I really felt that in there. So what do you think was the connection to the place, and how did that change when you guys had to move to, how do you say,
Malta?
English, Malta.
Yeah.
How did that change anything to the community, to the digital art community? How was it? I don't know if I was clear.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm going to give a somewhat truncated answer because it's a long explanation. So when I first went to THU, it was the first year, and it was in Troia. It was 2013. The reason I went was because it was in Portugal, and I'd never been to Portugal. So the concept of going to Portugal was exciting for me, and I wanted to go. I knew nothing about THU. I knew nothing about Andre Luis. I knew nothing about anything. I just thought, oh, when all expenses paid, round trip airfare to Portugal, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
So when I got to Setúbal and then took the ferry, it was sort of like entering in where I lived for a long time, Marin County, where Lucasfilm was. There was a tunnel that you would drive through, and on one side of the tunnel there was this rainbow. And San Francisco is a place where it's really foggy, but when you drive through this tunnel, you're on the other side of the mountain, and it turned out really sunny. So that's what Troia felt like to me. I got on this boat and I got off in Troia, and it was like magic. And I thought that Troia was really an important part of what THU was. And so in 2013, I joined Andre as his partner. But the problem that THU was having is it was losing lots of money, lots. And so something needed to be done. So either Andre needed to cut back the number of days and the number of speakers, which he refused to do. We needed to increase the price, the ticket price, which was crazy because it was already expensive, or we needed to increase the number of attendees, right? So if we sold more tickets. The problem in Portugal, well, in Troya, was there was no place to do that, right? So then we thought, okay, well, maybe Lisbon or Porto, but then we thought, we don't want to be in a city, because if we're in a city, the people could escape, right? So, you know, people that are coming from all over the world, holy shit, I'm now in Lisbon. I want to go see blah, 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 as opposed to staying isolated in a campus, which is what Troya was, right? So we were approached by the country of Malta, and we thought, okay, here's an island. You can't get away, right? And so not only can you not get away, these people were willing to give us €1 million to be able to bring the conference there. So now that started to, you know, relieve some of the financial problems. And then instead of having 250 attendees, which we had in 2016, we now had 1,000 attendees. Now, I was taken to task by that because I'm an American. And so a lot of, like Andre and some of the other, you know, Portuguese folks in THU were saying, you think too big. Why do you want to increase it? You're going to ruin the vibe. And I said, bullshit. You know, I just got back from Burning Man. There were 70,000 people there. I've never seen such a cool vibe. So if you get the right people to come to Malta, and if there's 900 of really cool people, it's going to be 3 times, 4 times better than the 250 cool people on Troya. And it turned out that the first year in Malta was incredible, right? And then it fell apart for political reasons, because Andre's not the nicest person in the world, and he wound up pissing off the Maltese government.
Okay.
And that's why that's the truth of why he returned to Troya. And I had it. I walked away, and I love THU, and I love what it does, and I love being part of starting it, but I can't deal with some of the management there.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I think we have another question, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to introduce you, Scott, to Nathan. Come on, Nathan. Nathan was one of the lucky guys that had the chance to be in the meeting with Kevin Mack, the lovely Kevin Mack. Come on.
Do we love Kevin Mack or what?
Hi.
Hi, Nathan. How are you?
Actually, he's the husband of the girl of Titanic.
Yeah.
So that's a tough thing to follow, because she's probably totally enamored with Jack and Leo, you know, and sort of, you know.
Yeah, and I don't look anything like them.
No, nothing like them. Nothing like them.
So I have an interest on usually like the technical aspects and how like the movies are done, how visual effects is actually done in the industry, because it's usually something that we unless you like watch the making of movies and that sort of stuff, it's something that's kind of hidden from like general public. Unless you really want to research it and
Sure.
look for it, it's like no one really talks about it in the open.
Sure.
And one of the things that I never have the chance to ask and never have a chance to actually see in the making ofs is basically like, how big is a team that does, for example, like visual effects, and what sort of artists and people that are involved both in the digital domain and non-digital areas, like what they are usually doing, how big are the teams, and how do they interact with each other?
Things have changed over the years, right? So when I first started in the industry in the mid to late 1980s, everything was done under one roof. It was one company, Industrial Light and Magic. We had a model shop and a camera shop and a stage shop and a pyro shop, and everything was done under one roof. And that's not the case anymore. So also, you know, when you think about it, I think the number of shots in Terminator 2, visual effect shots, were 48. 48. The number of shots in like the latest Marvel movie, you know, was the Spider-Man movie, I think was 2,500, right? So it's changed. So today, the question I would ask you, every movie is different. So what kind of movie are we talking about? Are we talking about a Marvel Universe movie, or are we talking about a smaller movie that's a drama? Are you talking about Batman, or, you know, what kind of movie are you talking about?
I actually wanted to have like this idea from like first from the past for something like for example like Star Wars, like in the beginning, and also the perspective of like some of these big productions, like for example like a Marvel movie, which is like visual effects everywhere and all digital of course, and just to see actually see that contrast as well, because that interests me a lot.
So when I was running Industrial Light and Magic, we had about 120 employees total. And the number of people on a single film team, let's say like Back to the Future, there was probably 45 people or 50 people.
I thought
Right.
it was a lot more.
Oh. Now we move forward to a Marvel Universe movie. There are probably 5 or 6 different companies that are working on the film, and each team is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 150 people. So when you watch the credits on a Marvel Universe film and you see visual effects, even though they're running fast and they're 3 along, it goes forever because there are 600, 700 people involved. How they interact, you know, there's a hierarchy. And the hierarchy basically is, on the creative side, there's the director. And the director has a vision of what he or she wants, and he or she translates that vision to the visual effects supervisor, who's the lead creative person on the visual effects side, right? On the financial production side, there's a visual effects producer. There's a producer on the movie side. So those two people are constantly screaming at each other. It costs too much. I need Batman. And the visual effects supervisor is pulling his hair out because she or she's trying to figure out, what the hell does this director really want? Because the director has no clue generally about visual effects, computer animation, etc. Underneath that, there are teams. So there's the stage team. There's the mocap team. There's the visual production team. There's the compositing team. There's the animation team, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in the large visual effects companies, there's also an art department, because oftentimes the director has not fully fleshed out what the art needs to look like. Like, what does this creature really look like? What's the environment really look like? So the visual effects studio will supplement the traditional art department. And on the production side, there's the producer and a group of coordinators, maybe 6 to 8 of them. And each one of those visual effects coordinators oversee a certain department, not from a creative or a management side, but from a project size. So they're going back to the head of the compositing department and saying, the lead compositor is saying, you were supposed to have these 5 shots finalized by yesterday. What the hell is going on? So production are the people that complain and scream and yell, and the creative people are the people that just complain.
Oh, okay.
Does that help you?
Yeah, that was really insightful. Thank you. Thanks a
Great.
lot.
You're welcome. Sure.
Thank you.
So, guys, anyone else? Take your chance. You, come here. Guys are shy, and I think.
Are we still wearing masks? Is there a COVID problem in Lisbon now?
We are having we are having high numbers of COVID,
Of infection, but no deaths, right?
no, yeah, some death, but not something very serious. This
Right.
particular guy here is for a brother that he has that needs special care. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so he's just behaving consciously. Yeah.
Good.
So,
Something that Americans don't do.
too many
Behave
people in the
consciously.
world don't do. This was this guy is João. He's from the new group of students. He didn't meet Kevin, but he's meeting you. So go ahead.
I have a question that's general. It's general. How does art influence technique in this case? Like, that's the gist of it.
So it's a really simple answer. Art is the incendiary device that helps create technology. It's very rare in the 40 years that I was in the business where a technology came to bear that allowed things to happen. Almost every time, I'd say 95% of the time, it was a concept and a creative thing that led to the technical people creating a technology that will allow us to do it.
Okay.
So art becomes first.
In this case.
Yeah, generally speaking, I mean, there have been things like, when Photoshop first came out, it was a mind-blowing thing. But I would say 90 to 95% of the time, some writer writes something on a piece of paper. The director says, yeah, that's really cool. Then they bring it to people like Digital Domain or ILM and say, can you do it? Almost every time, if it's really cool, we've never done it before. And so we lie and we say, yes, we can do it. And then we try to figure it out. And almost every time we figure it out.
Another question: does the digital team, the digital team, do they have a certain level of freedom when creating their shots, for instance?
The visual effects supervisor has somewhat a level of freedom, i.e., he or she can suggest ideas to the director, but in the end of the day, the director goes, it's always the director's choice.
Okay.
Now, there are certain directors, for example, who, and Ron Howard comes to mind, where he says, I have no idea what I want to do here. I'll give you an example. On the Apollo 13 liftoff sequence where the Saturn V rocket takes off, he turned to us and he said, I have no idea how to shoot it. I want you to make it look like Marty Scorsese shot this. That was his entire creative insight into that sequence. And then he let us run with it. Rob Legato, the visual effects supervisor, Digital Domain just ran with it and he loved it. Now, an interesting story on that, on the opening of that film, I went to Houston to be able to premiere the film at the NASA Space Center. And after the film was shown, there was a little social gathering and people were having drinks and talking about the film. And this man walked over to me and he said, I think I've seen every Saturn V liftoff ever shot. I never saw that one. Where was that shot? And I said, in our parking lot. It's a model. And he said, oh my God, that's incredible. He said, what's your name? I said, my name is Scott Ross. I said, what's your name? He said, my name is Neil Armstrong.
Only Neil Armstrong.
So you've done a good job when Neil Armstrong thinks it's real.
Yeah.
Right.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Okay. Guys, anyone else would like to make any question? Don't be shy.
How come the women never ask questions? Only the men. I've always been.
There was a question of a girl that.
Titanic, right? The Titanic question.
It was a Titanic and also the Star Wars 789.
Oh.
Yeah, but she didn't show up. So go there, Julia, and ask something else. Come on.
Oh, I already did.
No, you really did. Okay. So guys are actually tired.
We, in the name of everyone here, Scott, thank you very, very much. It was a huge pleasure, a huge privilege. And I'll make you promise that when you come back to Portugal, because I'm sure you will make us a visit.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting nowadays when I have a lot of friends in Italy, and every time I travel to Italy, I fly TAP. So
Yeah.
I get TAP from Newark to Lisbon, and then they sort of make you stay at least one day in Lisbon on the return home. And it's great. I'm like, I'm in. I
And
love Lisbon.
and I'm sure at least I'll be here waiting that you sign something just to
Okay.
make
Sure.
I'm flying to Lisbon, and we'll make it will be a real pleasure meeting you personally here.
Hey, I need clams and some green wine, so I'll be there.
Okay, it's a promise. Actually, I promise you a very good bottle of wine just because of this talk. So
Thank you
when
so
you come,
much.
okay.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.